Okay, let's unpack this. If you're a parent, or, well, anyone trying to connect with a teenager, you know the challenge. It can be tough.
Mm-hmm. That feeling of asking a question and just getting a grunt.
Exactly.
Mm.
Or you try to have a real conversation and they just, shut down faster than anything.
It's a really common puzzle, a frustration for so many.
So today, that's our deep dive. We're tackling exactly that. How do you get your teen to actually open up?
Yeah.
And we're using some great source material here, excerpts from Teen Connection, a parent's guide to open communication.
Which really is what it says on the tin, a science-backed guide. Very solid stuff.
It is.
And our mission, really, for you listening, is to boil down the most important nuggets from this guide. Give you a bit of a shortcut, maybe, to understanding not just what works, but the why. Why these strategies are effective based on the science.
Right. Not just guesswork.
Exactly. So this is for you, whether you're, right in the thick of it with your own kids, or honestly just curious about building stronger connections in general, based on evidence.
Absolutely. And, think about someone like Alex, a parent we know.
Mm-hmm.
They've been really struggling. Every chat feels like pulling teeth.
I hear that a lot.
They've tried direct questions, even the silent treatment. Nothing seems to click.
Right.
And what's great about this source is it moves beyond that guesswork. It offers a clear path that Alex and you can actually follow.
Yeah, actionable steps.
So the guide kind of hits us with this really powerful first principle: emotional safety, not control.
That's big.
Yeah, and it feels counterintuitive, right? Because often our instinct, especially if we sense trouble, is to sort of tighten control, get more information.
Sure, the parental instinct to manage the situation.
But the science here shows that a teen's willingness to open up really hinges on feeling safe, genuinely safe, not judged.
And critically feeling like they have some control, some autonomy in the conversation itself.
Okay, so unpack that a bit. What's the science saying there?
Well, this is where it gets really compelling brain-wise. The sources show that emotional safety actually activates the prefrontal cortex in teens.
Okay, the thinking part.
Exactly. The part for reflection, logic, connection. It's like their brains open for communication sign lights up. But, and here's the kicker, when judgment or pressure comes in, even subtly, that immediately triggers the amygdala.
The alarm system.
The brain's ancient alarm system, yeah. And that doesn't just make them defensive. It can cause a literal shutdown, conversation over.
Wow.
It backs up what Dr. Dan Siegel said, connection must come before correction. You need that safe base first.
Okay, so back to Alex or anyone listening. How do you translate this into action? What can you actually do?
Well, the guide suggests some really vital shifts. Things like consciously using a calm tone, open body language.
And not crossing your arms,
Yeah.
leaning in aggressively.
Right, and actively avoiding criticism, lectures, or those sudden, ambush questions.
Yeah, the we need to talk NW approach.
Yeah, exactly. Instead, try low-pressure phrases. Like, imagine Alex just casually saying, "Hey, I'm here when you feel like talking." No pressure at all.
That feels so different.
It is different. It shifts the whole dynamic.
So how could focusing on safety instead of control really change things in your own home for you listening? It's a fundamental shift.
A huge one.
Okay, so if emotional safety kind of sets the stage, the next insight is about where that stage works best.
Ah, right. The context.
Yeah. And it's maybe not what you'd expect. It's not always face-to-face across the table.
Mm-hmm.
Often teens open up way more during indirect side-by-side stuff, like talking while you're walking or driving or even just, folding laundry together.
Yeah, those shoulder-to-shoulder moments.
Why do you think that works so much better sometimes, that less direct approach?
Well, the source explains it really clearly. Engaging side-by-side just naturally lowers the intensity.
Less pressure.
Way less pressure. It takes away that direct eye contact, which can feel really confrontational or like an interrogation to a teen.
I can see that.
And this casual setting creates what psychologists call low-stakes intimacy. It makes it easier to share without feeling like you're under a microscope.
Low-stakes intimacy. I like that.
The bigger picture is just reducing that perceived pressure of a formal talk with a capital T.
Right. So for you listening, and for Alex, this means you can weave these moments into daily life pretty easily.
Totally.
The guide gives concrete examples. Go for that walk. Take a drive. Fold laundry together and just chat.
Simple stuff.
Even just saying, want to ride with me to the store. That can be an opening.
Mm-hmm. A casual invitation.
So when you think about your own routine, what stands out to you? Where could you maybe slot in more of this side-by-side time?
It's often easier than scheduling a formal talk.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got safety, we've got the right kind of setting. Now let's talk about the words themselves, the questions.
Ah, yes, the questioning. Crucial.
The guide points out this really key shift. Teens clam up when they feel interrogated, like suspects in a crime drama.
Yeah, the spotlight effect again.
But they open up when they feel genuinely understood, when your questions come from real curiosity, not just trying to extract information.
And that raises a really important question for parents, doesn't it? Are your questions designed to get facts, or are they about fostering connection, understanding their world?
That's a good distinction.
The science backs this up too. Open-ended questions, the ones that don't have a yes-no answer and aren't leading, they engage a teen's sense of autonomy, their narrative thinking.
So they get to tell their own story.
Exactly. It taps into that need for self-determination and genuine curiosity, just wanting to understand their perspective. That builds trust. It builds empathy. That actually activates the brain's social bonding systems.
So practically for you listening and for Alex, what does this look like? It means changing your phrasing.
Big time.
Instead of that loaded accusatory, why didn't you tell me, which just makes them defensive.
Instantly. Walls go up.
Try something open, genuinely curious. Like, what was the best part of your day? Or maybe what felt challenging today?
Simple, open invitations to share.
It encourages them to share their experience on their terms. Just think about the long-term effect on your relationship if curiosity replaces interrogation most of the time.
It changes everything.
Now, here's another point. This one can be really tough for parents because we often want to jump in and solve problems.
The fixer instinct, very strong.
Totally. But the guide stresses this. Teens need to feel heard before they can be helped. It's about validation, not immediate fixing.
This is so important and often overlooked.
Why is just validating feelings so powerful before offering solutions?
Well, again, there's brain science here. Validation literally calms the nervous system.
Really?
Yes, it helps regulate activity in the limbic system, especially that amygdala we talked about, the emotion center.
So it brings down the emotional temperature.
Exactly, and that allows for deeper conversation, for reflection. When a teen feels truly heard, like, okay, they get why I'm upset, their brain can actually shift gears. It moves out of that reactive state and into a space where they might actually be receptive to problem solving or advice, but not before.
So validation actually prepares the brain for solutions instead of shutting it down.
Precisely, it's preparing the ground.
So for you listening, this means actively resisting that urge, that jump to, okay, here's what you need to do.
Hard to do sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But imagine, Alex, instead of offering instant advice, just saying something simple like, wow, that sounds really tough.
Or, yeah, I can see why that would make you angry.
Just acknowledging the feeling, the power of simply being present with their emotion, validating it, rather than immediately trying to fix it. It's huge.
It builds connection first.
How might that feel different in your own interactions? Worth thinking about.
Definitely.
Okay, finally, let's tackle this idea that you need one big, deep talk to fix everything.
Ah, the magic conversation myth.
Right. The source really emphasizes that trust, the kind that leads to open communication, isn't built in one go. It's built through small, consistent interactions.
Consistency over intensity.
Yes, being consistently available, but without prying.
What the research shows, building on Bowlby's attachment work, is that this predictable presence fosters security, even in adolescence.
So just knowing you're there, reliably.
Exactly. Teens, like Alex's child perhaps, often open up not in response to one big push, but after several sort of neutral, casual check-ins. It's the cumulative effect. Feeling seen and accepted day after day, even in small ways, it builds a foundation, like a steady drip filling a reservoir, you know?
That's a great analogy. So for your daily life, for Alex's situation, this means just offering your presence daily without expecting some huge revelation every time.
Right. Showing up without an agenda, necessarily.
Maybe share small things about your own day. Make it mutual.
Yeah, normalize sharing everyday stuff.
And crucially, respect their silence when they need space. Don't push too hard.
That respect for their boundary is part of building trust, too.
It's about being a steady, reliable presence. So, thinking about this, what does that consistent presence mean for you, for the rhythm of your home life?
It's less about grand gestures, more about the daily fabric of relating.
Exactly. So if we boil it all down, the big message from Teen Connection, it's really not about finding the perfect magic question or timing one epic talk.
Not at all.
It's about building the kind of relationship where sharing just feels safer, more rewarding, more mutual, bit by bit, consistently.
Yeah. The core insight, backed by all this science, is pretty clear, isn't it? It's less about the specific words you say in one moment and much more about how your teen feels when they're around you day in, day out.
That feeling, safety, understanding, trust.
That's the bedrock. Everything else builds on that.
So here's a final thought, something provocative for you to maybe chew on after this.
Okay.
What if this whole lesson we've unpacked about connecting with teens, that emotional safety is fundamental, that consistency and curiosity beat control? What if that extends way beyond just parents and teens?
Ah, interesting. Where are you going with this?
Well, think about it. How might applying these same principles, non-judgment, side-by-side connection, genuine curiosity, validating feelings, how might that transform other relationships?
You mean like at work? With friends?
Exactly. All those
Yeah.
complex adult connections. Even in our communities, could this approach be more universal?
Using safety and validation as the default way to connect, regardless of age.
Yeah, something to mull over. We've definitely covered some important ground today.
We have indeed.
Keep diving deep into knowledge, everyone.